The first time my phone rang at midnight, I ignored it. The second time, I watched it vibrate across my nightstand, my stomach twisting. Unknown number. The screen glowed in the darkness, pulsing like a heartbeat. The third time, I answered. I should have let it ring. At first, nothing. Just silence, too much silence. Like the call wasn't coming from a place where sound was supposed to exist. Then, the breathing started. Shallow. Wet. Wrong. The sound of something forcing air through lungs that weren't built for it. I swallowed hard. My voice barely came out. Hello. A pause. Too long. My skin prickled, my grip tightening around the phone. Then, she spoke. Soft. Familiar. Empty. I missed you. My heart stopped. My vision blurred at the edges. Because I knew that voice. I loved that voice. And she had been dead for 6 months. I yanked the phone away from my ear, my breath coming fast and uneven. The screen still glowed in my trembling hand. Call ended. But I never hung up. And then, my phone vibrated again. A new voicemail. 57 seconds long. My hand shook as I pressed play. At first, just static. A low hum beneath it, like something shifting in the dark. Then, my own voice. A whisper. Ragged. Terrified. She's in the room with me. I put the phone down, my breath coming in uneven gasps. I told myself it wasn't real. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At exactly midnight, my phone rang again. Unknown number. The same as before. This time, I didn't answer. Instead, I watched. I watched as the screen flickered, as if something was interfering with the signal. The battery percentage dropped instantly, from 78% to 2%, and then, the call ended on its own. I told myself it was just a glitch. A trick of exhaustion. And then, there were 3 soft knocks at my door. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The apartment was dead silent. No footsteps. No shifting of weight. Just that knock, deliberate, careful. Like someone knew I was listening. I waited. Seconds stretched into eternity. No knock came again. No shadow moved beneath the door. Finally, I forced myself to stand. My pulse hammered in my ears as I approached the door, slowly, carefully. I pressed my eye to the peephole. Nothing. Just the dim hallway, empty as it always was. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe I imagined it. Then, my phone buzzed. A new voicemail. I lifted it with trembling hands. The message was 57 seconds long. And when I pressed play, I heard my own voice. Ragged. Terrified. She's in the room with me. I played the voicemail again. And again. And again. Each time, the words remained the same. My own voice, barely a whisper, fragile and shaking, she's in the room with me. The sound of my own fear played back at me like a cruel joke. But I had been alone that night. I knew I had. Hadn't I? My fingers felt stiff as I scrolled through my call log, my breath catching in my throat. No record of the voicemail. No record of the call. Like it had never happened. Like I had imagined it. But I hadn't. I could still feel it. The way my stomach had twisted when I heard her voice. The way the room had felt colder, heavier, as if something had settled into the space with me. I needed air. I needed to move. To get out. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The city was quiet. Too quiet. Even at midnight, there was always noise, cars in the distance, the hum of neon signs, voices from alleyways. But tonight, nothing. The streetlights buzzed faintly, their glow flickering against the wet pavement. The air smelled strange, stale, metallic, wrong. I walked, hoping the movement would clear my mind. Block after block, my footsteps echoed against the empty buildings. I should have passed someone by now, a late-night worker, a cab driver, someone. But there was only me. And the street signs. I stopped. The street signs. I had been walking for almost 15 minutes. So why was I still on the same street? I turned the corner. And my stomach dropped. I was back where I started. The same street lamp. The same flickering neon sign. The same cracked pavement. I turned again. Walked faster. Took different streets, weaving through alleys, cutting across intersections without thinking. My breath quickened, coming in sharp bursts. But every turn, every path, every shortcut led me right back here. The realization hit like a weight in my chest. I wasn't lost. The city wouldn't let me leave. And then I saw her. Standing beneath the street lamp. Motionless. Waiting. She wasn't facing me. But I knew, somehow, I knew, she was aware of me. A cold wave of dread rolled over my body. My breath turned to mist in the air. My pulse pounded in my ears. I took a step back. The street light flickered. The fog shifted. And in that split second, she was gone. I turned sharply, scanning the street, my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. I could feel something now. Something watching. Something close. My phone vibrated in my pocket. The sound nearly made me jump out of my skin. I pulled it out with trembling fingers. Unknown number. Midnight. Again. The same call. I shouldn't have answered. Every part of me screamed not to. But I did. At first, there was only silence. Then, breathing. Soft. Uneven. Right against my ear. My mouth was dry. My voice barely worked. Hello. Nothing. And then, her voice. Why did you leave me? My body locked in place. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. My throat closed around the words. I don't understand. The breathing grew heavier. Closer. Then, her voice again. Turn around. I froze. Every muscle in my body screamed to run. But I couldn't. Because in that moment, I felt it. The cold breath against the back of my neck. Slow. Steady. Right there. I didn't turn. I couldn't turn. I sucked in a sharp breath. My mind screamed at me to move. And finally, my body obeyed. I ran. Down the empty streets. Past the flickering lights. As fast as my legs could carry me. I didn't know where I was going, I just needed to get away. But no matter how far I ran, no matter how many streets I turned down, the city wouldn't let me leave. And worst of all, neither would she. I ran until my legs burned. Until my breath was ragged, my chest tight. But the city didn't change. Every street was the same. Every turn led me back. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. That exhaustion, fear, something, was messing with my head. But then I saw it. A sign. A gas station. And my own reflection in its window. Only. I wasn't alone. Behind me, just over my shoulder, she was there. Not standing. Not walking. But grinning. Her mouth too wide. Her teeth, wrong. And the worst part, I could feel her breath. Right on my skin. I spun around. Nothing. The gas station door chimed as I stumbled inside. The fluorescent lights buzzed. The air smelled like burnt coffee and old receipts. For the first time, I wasn't alone. A cashier stood behind the counter. A normal man. Middle-aged. Tired eyes. I rushed toward him, slamming my hands onto the counter. I need help, I gasped. Please. Something is wrong. I can't get out of here. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. I was wondering when you'd show up. The words sent ice through my veins. What? I whispered. The man didn't answer. He just reached beneath the counter, pulling out something small. A phone. An old, scratched flip phone. He placed it in front of me. "She's going to call again," he said. "This time, don't run." My throat closed. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I looked at the phone. Then back at him. He knew. He knew. Before I could ask how, before I could even breathe, the phone rang. Not mine. The one on the counter. The old, scratched flip phone. Ringing. Midnight. Again. And the cashier's face went pale. "Answer it," he whispered. My hand hovered over the phone. Everything inside me screamed not to. But I did. And this time, she wasn't whispering. This time, she was screaming. I pressed the phone to my ear. The second I did, my body locked. Because the scream was mine. Raw. Choked. Like someone was tearing the sound straight from my throat. The cashier's expression didn't change. He just nodded, like he had heard it before. I tried to move. To breathe. But my body felt heavy. Wrong. And then, the scream stopped. And she spoke. "You're running out of time." I felt something behind me. I turned. And for the first time, I saw her fully. No flickering shadows. No distant glimpses. She was real. And she was smiling. The lights in the gas station flickered. The air turned cold. The cashier grabbed my wrist. His grip was ice. "Listen to me," he hissed. "This city, it isn't real. It's feeding off you. Off her. If you don't leave soon, you never will." I opened my mouth. But before I could speak, before I could think, the lights went out. Total darkness. And then, a whisper. Right against my ear. "It's too late."